In the last video of this video series, I showed you how to generate architecture diagrams like the one we are looking at with OpenAI's new image generation model GPT-Images 2.0. And we learned that not any prompt would just work. We tried it with a verbal description of the process and that failed. We also tried to structure our prompt more, which also didn't work 100% correct. And finally, I came up with the idea of using a pseudo notation like in this prompt here, and I also added the download link for you, so you have a copy paste example which you can then adjust for your own purpose. But what we didn't check is whether Nano Banana is capable of generating diagrams of the same quality when we just enter the very same prompt. So let's do it in this video here. I will copy my prompt here from ChatGPT, and just as a reminder, we are working here with a plus version, so we have a free contingent of around about 200 image generations in high quality and with a new Images 2.0 model per day. And I also switched on the thinking mode here, and the advanced one in Germany it's called länger, in the English version I don't know, maybe extended or so. And going now to Gemini, we can see that also here we have a choice between the fast mode and the thinking mode. And for the records, I have not yet created any picture today. That means whenever we now generate a picture, it will use the full power of the thinking mode. And I just paste the prompt from ChatGPT now, send. And just because that caused confusion, the model behind Gemini is Nano Banana 2 at the moment, and the model behind ChatGPT is GPT-Images 2.0, and that is the two models we are comparing here. And that is our result picture. Let's see what it looks like. Without going too much into the details of our process, I can see right away that this arrow here is into the wrong direction. It should go to the Paprika app, then the Paprika app never ever talks to the open router here. That should go to the Paprika backend, and then we have other weaknesses like LLM request that should go to the open router and not in here. So you can see right away that the generation is wrong, which means Nano Banana is currently not capable of generating diagrams in the same way. And I'm recording this on the 3rd of May 2026, and of course we can expect them to do improvements, but for the moment we need to go with GPT-Images 2.0. Now looking at this huge prompt here and thinking, okay, I need to create this every time I need it manually, I thought, okay, does that really work in practice, or can we somehow streamline the whole thing? I came up with another idea here, and let me first go into my GitHub. That's the link I will also add once again to this video here with the prompt example and the prompt template. Let's download the example. That's the one we need. Okay, now let's assume we want to create a new diagram. We go back into ChatGPT, we start a new chat, and then we can work with an approach that is called one-shot prompting, which means we just upload our example file here. And then we tell ChatGPT to create a prompt just like that, but we need, of course, to give the new process, so it can then be mapped into our existing format. The uploaded file contains an example prompt which was used to create an architecture diagram. Today, I want to create another architecture diagram, use my information to create a similar prompt following the same logic and structure as the example. My process goes as follows. I have an order entry in an order entry system called OT. From that system, it is placed as a sales order in my S/4HANA backend system. The call goes via web service. Within my S/4HANA system, it creates a sales order, which will then create a delivery. That delivery will then be invoiced, which means an invoice is created, and that invoice is sent to my customer via my so-called sub-integration suite system. Outbound from S/4HANA side, we send an IDOC to sub-integration suite. Within the integration suite, we convert into edifact format, and sub-integration suite will then connect to an SFTP server and send the edifact file there. The receiving SFTP server is on the customer side. And you can see here that my prompt was understood. So it really created a prompt that has the same structure as my provided example. It somehow understood that we have different areas here to place components of my diagram. It also understood, okay, we have an OT, an order entry system, we have S4HANA backend, sub-integration suite, SFTP on customer side. That part here was maybe a little bit misunderstood, but you can see here then that my process flow seems to have worked from OT to S4HANA. An arrow at the head, label is create sales order. Then within the system, we have the flow sales order, delivery, invoice, and so on. And the good thing now is that this prompt here doesn't need to be 100% correct. We can adjust it if we see there are some minor errors in that. But the difference is we now don't have to create it step by step from scratch. So we make our minor corrections to that. And then with this prompt here, we can then finally create our architecture diagram. Let's try it without any correction. And you can see that we have our order entry system here. We send the sales order via web service to S4HANA. We create sales order, outbound delivery, invoice. Then the invoice is sent as an IDOC to the sub-integration suite. That is a little bit of misspelling, but I think it was already wrong in the prompt. Then we have the conversion to Edifact. We send it to the customer side, and the customer will then receive our invoice. And I'm not saying this is already super perfect, but like I said, we can always adjust our prompt. But I would say 90% or even more of the manual work is then obsolete now. And considering all of that now together, I would say we have a really great workflow to use this on a daily basis for our work. So this is what your future architecture modeling workflow could look like. We start on the left with this one-time setup. You watch the YouTube video, which you already did. You download my prompt example file from my GitHub and you save it to your local desktop PC. Then you create a new prompt, you upload the example file, you tell ChatGPT to use it as an example, so that is your one-shot prompt. You describe your process sentence by sentence, then ChatGPT will create a new prompt for you for the diagram creation. You go into a review, you check if everything is correct. If not, you let ChatGPT know and it will correct the mistakes in the prompt. And then finally, you will have a prompt that can create your architecture diagram. You copy the final prompt, paste it, and generate the architecture diagram image. And I really hope that this information is useful for you, that you can implement it into your daily work. And if you like content like that, then feel free to subscribe to my channel.